Welcome back to Midlife by Human Design. I am your host, Lori Lisai, and I help midlife women learn how to use your human design so you can shed the shoulds and be who you came here to be. Real quick, before we get into the episode, a reminder that I've got some local workshops coming up. The first is Winter Solstice with my friend River Buffum on the 21st. The second is an intention setting workshop with my friend Kim Horton, a yoga teacher. So we'll be doing a bit of restorative yoga during that workshop as well. That is on January 11th. And then the third is on self-care with my friend Beth Kruger, also a yoga teacher. We'll also be doing some restorative yoga during that workshop and talking about self-care through the lens of human design. So if you're local, those links will be in the show notes. I invite you to join me in those as well. And without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, my beautiful midlife mavens. Welcome to Midlife by Human Design. Today we're going to be talking about planning because I love a good planner. There's just something that I love about sitting down and being truly intentional with my time and my efforts, especially when it comes to reaching you and helping you and supporting you through this midlife phase. And I've used lots of planners in the past, and some of them I have really enjoyed, but they always left me with some things that I was missing, and I was trying to cram things into the planner that there just wasn't room for. So I was like, well, 5-line here, fuck it. Let's just make one that actually works for me. So I did. And in the process of using that over the last couple of years, I've definitely learned some things and refined it. And I wanted to talk today about the process of planning by your human design. So in midlife, there are definitely some things that change in our lives, especially as it pertains to the way we feel, our bodies, our energy levels. With the hormonal chaos happening, whether you've completed and been through perimenopause and now on the other side, or whether you're in the throes of it, there are struggles you have with your energy levels, and they aren't quite what they used to be. And I also want to just shine light on the fact that there are a lot of things happening in the atmosphere and in the universe right now that are affecting us as well. Lots more solar flares happening and just shots of energy that are trying to help us up level. And that, without us really necessarily being aware of it, is also taxing our energy or making us a little bit more tired. And then add to that, we're in December, we're almost to the shortest day of the year, the 21st on solstice. And we can feel guilty because we feel like we're not accomplishing enough, right? We're still very driven by the capitalist productivity message. And so in order to combat that and help yourself to be intentional with the time that you have and to think about how you're spending your time, it's really good to have a tool that supports you in doing that. And oftentimes you can have a plan on Monday and then it falls apart by Wednesday. Maybe especially during this time of year because it's the holiday season, and on top of everything that you're usually doing, you're adding more things like holiday shopping, decorating for the holidays, sending out cards, whatever you do, whatever your traditions are. If you're still doing those, there's added load at this time of year. But the thing is, all of those things are coming from your mind, right? They're not necessarily coming by your design. You're planning based on our productivity culture. You're planning based on your shoulds. You're planning based on pressure that's coming in from either yourself or your relatives or whatever the case may be. You're planning based on conditioning. I've always done this, therefore I should do it again this year. You're planning based on guilt or people pleasing, like, oh, I don't want to make it difficult on other people, so therefore I am going to take this on this year, instead of, say, you're excited about it. So what I'm proposing with this episode is that you start experimenting with planning your weeks by design instead of all of those things that I just listed. So I'm going to float a few different ideas that you can practice with this week. And I think you should, if you decide to experiment with this, go for just one. Just choose one and see if you see any changes. Because remember, I am always an advocate of the 1 degree pivot on this podcast, because those 1 degree pivots add up to big changes. But if you try to do them all at once, again, you don't want to put a load on yourself that just makes you feel like you're failing, when it's really about how do you support yourself. So we're going to look at your authority, your energy type, some centers, and some transits. And I'm only going to give you like a very brief overview of these things, but I wanted to give you a taste so that you could practice and see like what happens. So let's talk about authority first. If you are thinking about planning to support your emotional authority, don't plan everything on Sunday night. Because remember, you are going through an emotional wave all of the time, whether it's conscious, unconscious, whether you have more than one wave or not, you are in some part of that wave at all times. And so when you sit down on Sunday night, one week you might be in an emotional high and you're like, I'm going to conquer the world. This is amazing. I'm going to get all these things done. And then maybe by Wednesday, you crash and burn in your wave and you just don't have the energy anymore to bring it across the finish line. So what I would say is, instead, let's say you are in a high on your Sunday night. Sure, make a list of the things that you would love to have in your life, that you would love to accomplish this week. And just remember that you are feeling really good right now and that it may change. So this is more about giving yourself a break when you feel like the Thursday thing that you had planned, you really don't have the energy for. And instead of beating yourself up about it, you can just say, okay, I'm going to wait that out and see, like, is it something that I'm still committed to? Maybe I have to go through this low and come back out of it and see how I feel. Or maybe it's just going to drop off. Maybe it's not something that I'm still really committed to and excited about. So do a brain dump on Sunday and then just check in with yourself over the course of the week. And the planner has an emotional tracker in it, so you can keep track and start to see patterns within your emotional wave. You can actually see it in black and white, how it's functioning. And so you have a little bit more understanding of what it looks like, and you can plan for it a little bit. You can see how your wave or waves are functioning, and you can start to understand. So then you can see like, oh, okay, maybe I'll have more energy during this time, and then I will plan for that. Let's say you have a sacral authority. In this case, you want to plan for tasks that are going to give you that sacral or And here you are measuring what you have the energy for. So one of my favorite human design teachers just wrote a blog post about this recently, where she talked about generators and manifesting generators and the sacral response, and basically just this idea of you're not always going to be excited about it, like we've talked on the pod before about my clean bathroom. I love a clean bathroom. I don't necessarily like the action of cleaning the toilet, but I sure do love to sit down on a clean toilet seat. So I do it because I have the energy for it. I feel like I can complete the task. So if you've got a sacral authority, what are you getting a yes on in terms of I have the energy for this? And then do I actually want to do it this week? And if it's a no, then just set it aside. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a no forever, but you can set it aside for now. If you have a splenic authority, trust that whisper, trust the intuitive response. And I would also encourage you to have lots of white space in your calendar. And honestly, this goes for all of the types. We need way more fucking white space in our calendars. Like this is just capitalism and productivity conditioning grinding down on us year after year after year, where we block our calendars and they have to be like completely full all of the time. And I am proposing that is not the case, that you give yourself room in your calendar to respond to things. And with a splenic authority, you are a highly sensitive being, and you need to make space to hear your intuition. Or maybe it's seeing images. Remember, your splenic authority may talk to you in different ways. It's going to be through the clairs. So giving yourself flexibility will be helpful for those intuitive hits to come in. If you are an ego or heart authority, ask yourself if you want this thing. How much do you actually desire it? And is it worth you putting the time and energy in? Those are great questions to ask. And if they're not, they're really a no for you. So you want to be very intentional about choosing meaningful things to focus your time on. If you are a self-projected authority, talk out your week. Take some time, maybe it's on Sunday, whatever day you choose, really, to just talk it out and be like, okay, this is my plan, this is what I'm thinking, and listen to yourself. How does it sound? Where do you notice the different intonations in your voice? What does it sound like when you're talking about your week? If you hear your voice dropping or sounding sad or like you're not very into what you're talking about, that's a great indication that that is not something you want to be spending your time on. If you are a mental or environmental authority, you're going to want to talk it out in your favorite environment. So let's say you love having a cup of tea by the fire. That's a great place to plan your week. And then talking it out can be also helpful. And then if you're a lunar authority, you are going to want to really follow the moon cycles and pay attention to the moon, which is also a component of my human design planning system and the planner. So that's it for authorities. I want to talk a little bit about energy type. So generators, which I mentioned earlier, you're looking to fill your week with lots of white space to respond, and then also with things that feel like they will bring you satisfaction and that you have the energy to do, not should do's. Projectors, you want to think about energy management. So how can you time block your days for chunks of things that then leave time for rest and recuperation and rejuvenation, especially if you are not an energy projector. So if you don't have your solar plexus or your ego or your root defined, then you are going to want to make space for rest. In fact, I would say schedule it in like it's a meeting. Manifestors, remember that you work in cycles. So this is going to be a task in being aware of where you are in your cycle. So again, using one of the trackers in the planner is a great tool to understand, am I in a rest cycle right now? Or did I just get a hit on something that I am super excited about and I am in my frenzy cycle? So give yourself some time to rest. And when I say rest for manifestors, I don't mean like sit on the couch and do like a ton of research on the thing that you are working on at the moment. That's not rest. That's still engaging your mind about the thing that you're working on. I mean, rest like sit down and watch your favorite rom-com and just let your mind like float and feel like it's on a cotton candy high. Reflectors, again, going back to the lunar cycle, building in lots of flexibility and understanding that your phases are going to be tied to the moon. And as a woman, I would also suggest that you look at your menstrual cycle and think about planning in alignment with that. Those are going to be really helpful tips. Remember that every single day can be different for reflectors. So honor that. You are a different person each day, each month. You are exploring and reinventing yourself all the time. So leave space for that. Okay. The third kind of experiment that I'm offering is to consider some of your centers. And I'm only going to talk about a few because I don't want this episode to be too long. But think about if you have an undefined head, for example, not planning your week around other people's ideas. So somebody else says, oh, you should do this, or you see something that looks interesting to you and you think, oh, I should do this. Do not plan around that. Wait for it to come from a real response of your own. Okay. And you're also, remember, if you have an undefined head, going to feel pressure around ideas or around having answers. And if it's something that you feel like you have to do to find an answer or to figure something out, that would be a task that you dismiss off of your planning, because really you are here to live in possibility. Live in, oh, well, maybe I'll try this, maybe I'll try that, and understanding that there are millions of answers for any one question, and it's really just about what works for you in the moment. So if you think about planning to support that, you are wanting to plan for lots of flexibility. Quiet mornings are really helpful for you if you have an undefined head. Let's say you have an undefined solar plexus. Building in emotional recovery days can be really helpful. And if those all have to happen on the weekend, whatever, maybe you're working your 9 to 5, you could even build in an emotional recovery block when you get home from work to just go disappear into your own space, be by yourself, and just let yourself decompress and shed everything else that you have taken on, all of the other feels that belong to other people. Give yourself space to shake them off, literally, brush them off, to just decompress and be out of that energy. And then the last one that I want to mention is the root center. And if you are an undefined root, again, this is a pressure center. And again, because it's undefined, you are going to be taking in and amplifying the root pressure of all the defined roots around you. So you tend to feel like a chicken with your head cut off, running around all the time, feeling like you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to get all the things together, everything has to be perfect, blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't. So I'm encouraging you to stop freaking looking at your week and putting in 7,000 things and just like cut it by 5%. Do that every week and see what happens. You know, does the world fall apart if you don't have the perfect, I don't even know, what are those things called that go under the plates on the like Christmas table or the holiday table? It's like, anyway, you maybe know what I'm talking about. Hello, menopause brain. It's the round thing and they have this funny word. Anyway, I'm thinking about, are those things really important? Maybe that's one detail you can let go of. And I'm going to think of that word tonight at 3 a.m. So those are some examples for planning in congruence with your centers. And then the last part I have to suggest for you is looking at the transits. And this is looking at the human design gate in which the sun is. And remember, the sun travels through all of the gates throughout the year, and it spends approximately 6 days in each gate. Okay. And each gate has a certain theme to it. So if we think about it, it's like the energetic weather that's happening on any given day. So, for example, right now we are in the energy of gate 5, and gate 5 is all about routine. It's all about kind of structure and rituals and having something like that to support you. So it's a really beautiful energy that gives you some cycles to pay attention to that can help you. So knowing that that is the energy kind of flavor of the moment from the sun, and the sun is a good luminary to pay attention to because it gives us 70% of the neutrinos that are blasting into us at every single second. So if it's pouring through gate 5 on these days, then you know, okay, these are some good days to check my rituals, for example. What do I do on a regular basis? And are those rituals still supportive? How can I take the things that I do on a daily basis and make them even more ritualistic so that they support me more? For example, when you're brushing your teeth, maybe you decide that you're going to look in the mirror while you're brushing your teeth and pick out all of the things that you love about yourself so much and help to build your self-confidence by telling yourself what a beautiful fucking human you are. Okay, so just as an example. And next week, I am going to share a podcast that will have the gate transits for the month for you. And this is a new part of the planning system that I'm launching this year that I am so excited about, because in the planner, you can see the different gate transit every single day. So you know what gate the sun is transiting. You also know the line that it's transiting each day, because remember, it transits that gate every 6-ish days or so. So I am going to create a private podcast that offers the outlook for the following month so that you know, what does it mean when I'm looking in my planner and I see gate 5 here? Okay, let me listen to the pod and see what Lori said about the forecast for this period of time. So noticing the weather, the energetic weather, the gate weather is no different than noticing the physical weather outside. You know, it's snowing. I know I've got to put my hat on, my scarf, and my snow boots before I take the dogs for a walk. If it's in gate 5, this is an invitation for me to revisit my routines and my rituals. So I hope that this episode helps you with some ideas for how you can actually use your human design to plan intentionally. And I would encourage you to, again, choose one of the things that I offered in today's episode, whether it be your authority, the gate transits, the centers, or your energy type. And just experiment and see what difference it makes. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, holy shit, I need this, I want to do this year, then my planner is on sale right now on my website. And I call it a planner, but it really is so much more, because at the beginning, there's a whole section on intention setting for the new year There's place for reflection on last year, as well as looking ahead to this coming year, 2026, which is a huge closing door year, Richard Rudd's words, not mine, where we're coming to the very end of this old paradigm and shit's gonna get wild. So we need to find concrete ways to ground our energy, to feel like we are supported. And this planner gives you that. So if you look in the front, there's all this intention setting. There are pieces of your human design, very specific pieces and parts of your human design that you will find in there that will show you how to support yourself in the coming year. And then it's got monthly breakdowns and weekly breakdowns where you can see things like the planetary days. You can see what gate the sun is in. You can see places to track things like your emotional wave, for example. I love to try new things each month and just sort of jot them down and keep track. And this planner gives me a space to do that. So I invite you to check it out. I will put the link in the show notes. And if you are looking for more support in addition to the planning system, then I invite you to apply for one-to-one coaching, because that is truly your way into living by design in terms of having somebody to bounce ideas off of, having somebody to share with you what is going on in your human design and how whatever you're working through in life, how you can meet it by your design. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I would love to hear what you decide to try this week. Just let me know in the comments on YouTube, or let me know in the comments on Instagram, wherever you happen to find this podcast. Let me know. I would love to hear from you. And as always, here's to living midlife by your design. Remember to click the link in the show notes to get the Planning by Design system. Right now, the price is $111 and it will be increasing before the end of the year. So you want to snag yours ASAP so you can get in on that price.